Welcome in, Bills fans, to another episode of the Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm the president of Built-In Buffalo, Lance Nelson. To my left, Scott Casson. To my right, Benjamin Shoop. The off-season rolls on. This is like the real deep off-season. You got like 6 weeks till training camp from the end of mini camp, and there is just nothing. So here we go, though. We're going to review the quarterback and linebacker groups for this year's Bills. What's up, Shoop?
Nothing much. It was obviously past week was Father's Day, and I got a great surprise as a Red Sox fan with Rafael Devers getting traded, which is obviously not football, but just thought I'd throw it in there that had that sports news coming out, and the Oilers lost. So pretty rough week in sports for me, but excited to at least get into some Bills talk, which is always makes the week better.
Right on. Scott, how are we doing this fine evening?
Not gonna lie, Ben, when you said it was Father's Day and you got a surprise, I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that. But yeah, Rafael Devers getting traded was definitely crazy. Yankees won today, so that was a nice change of pace. They scored more runs today than they have in the last week, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, super excellent to see New York getting it going again. I told you guys yesterday that I feel bad for the next few series here as Aaron Judge was like 1 for his last 18. I didn't see what the box score from today, but
1 for 3 today.
Okay, so not great, but still getting back. I think he's going to hit some bombs and move forward. But on to football here with the Buffalo Bills. Training camp schedule was announced, so there's a little bit of news to talk about with them at St. John Fisher opening at July 23rd. They have a lottery system for most fans. I think season ticket holders will still get some ticket opportunities there separately from the general public. And so you guys looking forward to any training camp dates in particular? Do you give us a little synopsis of how you view it, and if there's any kind of key dates that you're looking forward to, maybe blue, white, and red, or whatever they say, blue and white scrimmage, first preseason game. What's the target for you when you really lock in there?
I've never been to training camp. I don't live in Buffalo, so Ben, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to at least make it to one every year. For me, when it came to like those lottery dates, I just picked the weekend ones, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to choose. But then, as a season ticket holder, I did see that we do get, I believe the tickets, you're on the 23rd, you're able to like start purchasing them. So I'm going to try to see how many I can get, see if I can maybe
purchasing them for $0.
Yeah, see if I can, get maybe a day or two off of work with some PTO to kind of go to one or two of them. But they're always fun. It's just fun to be in that atmosphere again, because it's, when you're there, you're still, a good month away from football and the regular season, a little over a month still. But it's just fun to be around, other Bills fans, see the guys throw the ball around and just kind of be in that atmosphere again, even though sometimes it can get a little hot, like the one year me and you met up there, Lance, when we were sweating like crazy. But it's just it's something that every year, I think, especially if you go every year, it's a good trip too, where it's not too far away, where it's a nice day trip. You go up, you can get some nice food up there too, and just check out like I said, the team and see how they're looking. But it kind of gives you a nice little feeling before you get really into the major part of the season with preseason and then into the regular season. So
yeah, this fan base is pretty nuts. Like, they have to limit the amount of people that can go to the practices that this team has, like an hour away from Buffalo still, like, and so many people go, it's still packed. They still release a ridiculous amount of tickets, so there's not enough room on the benches in the stands at times, and the people are standing around the entire field. They split up offense and defense into 2 fields, and there's still a crowd at each. So it's pretty impressive from this fan base to be so enthralled with this team that they go out there and have to have tickets limited to these things. And it's a little bit of the popularity of the sport, and then the craze of this fan base, I think, and how much they love the team for me. So I super enjoy it, and I'm hoping to take my son again for one day. We'll see if my mom comes out at all, and then just try to give back. There's a veteran at work I work with, try to get him to go with his son and different things like that. And people who may not have a chance with the public lottery, you know, just try to get those folks opportunities as well with the season ticket advantage that we have.
Yeah, and I like that they do it at St. John Fisher still. Not a lot of teams left doing it at a college somewhere with that in the dorms.
Mom goes to college.
Yeah, but St. John Fisher has awesome facilities. I competed there a couple times, played there a couple times in college. So the Bills definitely help make them. The facility is really nice for us D3 athletes, but yeah, it's cool that they go away from all the distractions of being at home, and I think it kind of helps build that team bonding and team camaraderie so early. Because I've heard stories they're up late playing video games and hanging out, and gets away from everything. So it's cool that they still do it, kind of the old school way.
I think it also can help even just rookies in general, because you're on a campus and because when your first year you're coming in. Some teams, you go out into training camp, then you're going right back home. Where for these rookies, they're coming in and they're with the team that entire time. They're with everybody, just learning that way instead of, you're just going home then after. So I do think it even helps the younger guys kind of get acclimated to the NFL life and just maybe into the playbook a little bit more, and just being able to learn quicker from some of these veterans at a place like St. John Fisher, where you're, like you said, they're up late sometimes playing video games, or they're just always around each other instead of just, like I said, training camp, practice, you just go right back home then, and then you're right back at it the next day. So I do think it also helps the younger guys as well kind of get into the NFL and used to that type of intensity when it comes to just the playbook and practice and everything.
For sure. Yeah, it's cool to see who's getting snaps with whom, and just the funniest thing last year, I think Mac Hollins got someone, I think it was Benford, on an out route, and was had the veteran jawing at Benford, got him so heated. Benford threw the ball, and excuse me if it wasn't Benford, but I'm pretty sure it was. But he threw the ball at Mac Hollins after the play, just spiked it right at his backside. And I just think that some of those friendly competitions are fun to see. Just in person, something you're not going to see on highlights through other media members and stuff like that. So there's always good stuff to see, and the Bills typically are fairly well behaved. There's not too much boiling over where there's big brawls, but I mean these guys are proud, and sometimes things happen. It's kind of fun to see it.
And they're doing a joint practice with the Bears this season too, which I don't remember the last time they did a joint practice. Maybe with the Panthers 5-6 years ago, if I remember off the top of my head. But I just remember Ed Oliver and Cam Newton arguing about something in a practice. But so that'll be cool. Yeah. Speaking of fights, we might see some then.
Exactly right. So the Ravens signed Jair Alexander, and Lamar Jackson came out and made some comments about coming out with vengeance in this upcoming season. What were your thoughts on that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he does want vengeance. The Bills have knocked him out in the playoffs twice. He has kind of underperformed in the playoffs every year of his career. I think he only has 3 playoff wins. So, yeah, I'm sure he does want vengeance. And playing the Bills in the season opener, I'm sure is going to be very meaningful for them. So that's good that they get the Bills early on the schedule. As far as Jair Alexander, there were rumors that the Bills tried to trade for him before kind of pivoting. I don't know if the asking price was too high or what, and deciding to draft Max Harrison and bring back in Trey White and kind of address the cornerback room that way. So that'll be interesting. Jair Alexander's a hell of a player. He just isn't on the field all that much, but luckily for the Ravens, their secondary is so deep as it is that he's more of a luxury than a necessity. So if he does get hurt, they can probably weather that better than some other teams. But yeah, it'll be a fun one week 1, and I'm sure Lamar does want some vengeance. He played terrible when they were up here in January.
Yeah, just to go back on the joint practice thing real quick, is they did, I think, have a day or two with Pittsburgh as they were going down just before a preseason game last year. So I did have some joint practice then. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before, I believe. So I have to look up the exact timing of that. But yeah, they definitely have the relationship there with a few different teams, I believe, and it's fun to see. I echo exactly what you said about Lamar's comments. A little bit jealous, or like, man, the rich get richer when you talk about the Ravens secondary getting Jair Alexander. Bills have Christian Benford for sure, and he's nothing to sneeze at, but just would be nice to have that one guy who's like undoubtedly CB1, and maybe Christian Benford will be in that conversation for me moving forward. I know he's good. I don't have him like as the clear cut top CB in the league right now. He's just not. I don't think that he's there as far as Jair Alexander might be or others. So be interesting to see how that works out for the Ravens, because they got a good one there with Alexander.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, Jair Alexander is now 2 or 3 years removed from playing a full season. He's had 2 years in a row where he's played 7 games. Will he still be that same Jair Alexander we knew back in 2022? That's the question. I mean, that's the big part. It's like, once you start getting injuries, how fast can you continue that high level of play? So I still think he'll be a very good player, but I mean, if I had to choose right now, at least just based on what you were saying, Lance, I would take Christian Benford over Alexander right now. I mean, even when he was on the field the past 2 years, he wasn't that same all-pro player that we knew. Still a very good corner, but yeah, I like Scott said, I think it's more of just a luxury at this point. Where like, oh yeah, you have him there, he can give you quality snaps, but is he undoubtedly a cornerback one right now? That's probably why the Bills at the time when they were looking into Jair were like, we don't know if we want to pay a steep price for him. We don't know if we want to deal with his even just attitude, or he does sometimes have some attitude problems that have come up the past 2 years, and that was part of the reason why Green Bay was willing to move on from him and just cut him rather than having to find a trade partner. I know they looked for a while, but if you're a guy that is an all-pro, teams aren't just going to cut you unless there's some other behind-the-scenes stuff as well. So yeah, would I have liked Jair Alexander? Definitely, but I do think that his best days are behind him at this point when it comes to the NFL. And, he'll probably play some very good football with Baltimore. But I'm not, by any means looking at it as, I wish we really would have gotten him. I know that it's back and forth between Bills Mafia, where some people would have really loved him. Some people I know were like, nah, we don't need that in our locker room. We don't need that type of guy who can't stay healthy. So yeah, I mean, it is. We'll see, obviously, how he plays this year. I could be completely wrong, and he could have, again, another resurgence in his career where all of a sudden he's back to that all-pro form. But going into his age 28 season, it's after 2 injuries, 2 straight years, it's going to be kind of a tough uphill climb, because this is now his 3rd or 3 out of the last 4 years he's missed double-digit games. So how many more years are you going to have where he's playing 10-plus games in a season? He's only had 1 in the past 4 years. When it comes to Lamar's comments, I mean, I'm not really sure why people were super shocked about it. Like, what do you want him to say? Like, some people were, I know, were like, oh, he's just like, what do you want him to say? Oh, I don't really care. Like, we lost. I don't really care. Like, no, if this were Josh Allen, I would probably be like, yeah, I want to get back at this team that knocked us out. If you're a competitive guy, at the end of the day, you see a team that knocked you out of the playoffs and you're meeting them week 1, you're going to want to get back at them, even though it is a regular season game. I know some people are like, well, even if the Bills lose week 1, which even I'm one of those people, if they lose week 1, yeah, I'll be upset. But at the end of the day, it's week 1. You got a long season ahead of you. But yeah, I completely get why Lamar would want vengeance, and it's completely understandable. And I think probably that entire team would like vengeance week 1, and Bills are going to have their handful week 1 when it comes to it, because they're still going to be missing 2 guys from suspension. Obviously, you got a young corner coming in with Max Hairston, so you don't know what you're going to be at CB2. So yeah, it's going to be a very big challenge for the Bills week 1. But again, it is week 1. If they do end up losing, they'll learn from it, move on, and then hopefully again in the playoffs, like we saw last year, got blown out by the Ravens, and they beat them in the playoffs. So yeah, it'll be a big challenge. I know that Baltimore is going to be looking to get off to a hot start this season, and yeah, it's going to be a fun game week 1 for sure.
Yeah, if you haven't done so already, please like and share this episode. We are sponsored by Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built-In Buffalo, also Buffalogo. Check them out on the web, among others. So certainly appreciate the sponsors and appreciate y'all for liking, sharing, subscribing to this YouTube channel here at Built in Buffalo. Share that with your friends as well. Hit that notification bell to get notified when we do go live. Let's switch over to the QBs. We'll start with offense. Scott, you want to take this one?
Sure. So, big quarterback competition coming up in camp this season for the backup role. Obviously, Josh Allen is pretty cemented in there as QB1, barring anything crazy. But it's the same QB room back this year as it was last year. Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky, and Mike White battling it out for QB2, and then Shane Buechele there as well. He missed much of last year with an injury, but he has a chance to maybe find himself on the practice squad. So not a whole lot to say about Josh Allen other than he's really good. So we can just kind of go ahead. Ben, we'll start with you with the backup competition. And who do you think has a leg up right now? Who do you think ends up winning it between Mike White and Mitch Trubisky?
I mean, I'm going to give the edge to Mitch for a couple of reasons. One, he just contract-wise, so you're going to want to have to cut a guy and then eat that money, where Mike White, I'm pretty sure there's no signing bonus for him. So
he has no guaranteed money. Mitch has like $750,000 guaranteed money. But if they cut Mitch, they would save more still. Like they would save like $2.25 million versus 1.25 or 1.5 for Mike White.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these two guys they're not exactly far apart from each other when it comes to being a backup. I think both of them would be fine backups. When you're paying a guy like Josh Allen as much as he is and you're in the money situation the Bills are, you're not going to have a top-tier backup at the end of the day, and you hope to never use these guys. Hopefully you see these guys in the preseason, and that's it. Hopefully you don't see them unless it's a blowout in the fourth quarter. One of them, that's the only time you'd want to see one of them. You hope you never have to bring it in because of injury. I do think Mitch does though, just because, again, a little bit more starting experience, a little bit more full game experience when it comes to Mitch. Yes, he's a little bit older now. Who knows if he's going to come in and still, keep it up from being a solid backup. Mike White is another guy who, like I said, is kind of similar for Mitch with me, maybe a little bit less with the legs there. But again, now that Mitch is older, who knows how his legs are when he comes to running. So I think Mitch will get the edge just also because, you kind of saw the same kind of competition last year when they brought Mike White in and they opted to keep Mitch as the backup. Buechele, he'll, like you said, maybe get practice squad. Maybe again he'll get an injury and they'll just put him on IR. But yeah, I think if not Mike White, I think should possibly get a chance elsewhere. If not, maybe they look to put him on practice squad. I know was he on practice squad last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mike White, yeah.
They
brought him in like midway through the season, and he was on the practice squad.
So either way, I think that's also maybe a reason is Mitch might then get another opportunity to be a backup elsewhere. If so, where Mike White might be easier to bring back on the practice squad. So, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a backup role. You hope to never see either of these guys on the field. I would lean, though, probably Mitch they'll keep just because, again, they paid him more. And even though you might be able to save more at this point in the season, unless there's a guy that gets cut and you think, oh, we really need that money, it's not going to really go to major use because you're not saving $6 million with them, right? You're saving just a little bit there when cutting Mitchell Trubisky. So I think Mitch will end up coming out, but wouldn't be shocked if either of them really are, because I think, like I said, they're both pretty similar into backup type of role.
Yeah, and John in the comments here is hitting it on the head with what I was going to say is, I think Josh Allen's better friends with Mitch Trubisky, and that's pretty much what matters. Yeah, it matters way more than what Mike White could do on the field. I mean, my biggest question here is, like, could either of them really play like that Nick Foles type of role where he comes in and like still leads a team to the Super Bowl? Like, I don't see it at all. And like, it just really doesn't matter which one of these guys is there because neither of them are really going to make a difference other than what they do for Josh to be successful. That's their biggest role on this team. If we have to see them play snaps, like, I don't know, flip a coin, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Mitch probably gets the edge, and for what John and you just said, like they're better friends. I made the joke last year that Mitch had the edge up because he met our number one requirement of being Josh's backup, and that's just being his friend. Like we had Kyle Allen here before, who Josh used to live with and train with in the summer. It was those two and Darnold living in the house on the beach. They said they would like go throw in the morning and then they'd lift and then they'd play video games the rest of the day. So yeah, it's like, who does Josh want to hang out with for pretty much every hour of every day during the season? But people do forget that Mike White was AFC Player of the Week, Week 8, 2021. People forget that. I don't know if Mitch has any Player of the Week, but he does have an MVP, which is equally prestigious. You guys got anything else on quarterbacks? It's kind of a quick conversation, which is a nice change of pace in Buffalo over the majority of our lifetimes. Lance, you lived through Jim Kelly and maybe even Joe Ferguson, but Ben and I.
No, not that old there, guy.
I will say, I guess if either of them come into play and that it's a huge topic, like if Josh happens to go down, which I'm praying that does not happen, if it's before the trade deadline, I would look to actually trade for somebody over ever playing one of them two for the rest of the season and praying that we can get somebody else. I'd rather have Joe Flacco at 40 years old than either of these two.
Joe Flacco.
I would be a little bit more.
Something about Flacco that I like.
Something about Flacco that I just miss, No,
there are people like that here in Baltimore. It's very funny.
I have no doubt about that at all. But yeah. But yeah, like I said, if Josh happens to go down, that's worst case scenario in Buffalo. I think the whole city of Buffalo would go into a depression if Josh Allen got hurt for a long time. I would definitely hope that they would go look to trade for somebody else instead of saying, we're just going to ride with Mitch or Mike White the rest of the season. I think that'd be better.
I will say, I do think they like Mike White a lot. They elevated him a couple times last season when they didn't have to, just to give him a game check, because apparently he was working so hard in practice. So I do think they like him. I just don't think he's a better fit than Mitch Trubisky is for, personal and on the field reasons. I would feel better with Mitch than I would Mike White, but it's not Mitch
has had longer term success in the NFL than Mike White. I mean, he's led team to the playoffs twice. Mike White had one AFC Player of the Week once. So
if there's no double doink, maybe Mitch wins the Super Bowl. Who's to know?
Exactly. Who knows? But yeah, like we said, hopefully we don't see either of them on the field unless it's a blowout or they're taking a knee down. So
right.
yeah,
it's not something we want to talk about. I mean, it's just the fact of Josh Allen is on this amazing streak and we hope it continues, knock on wood. And it's but he plays a very physical style and he's human. So you just, you don't know. And if it does happen, God forbid, I don't know. I'll be looking to sell my tickets for $40 in the bargain bin if I can.
Yeah.
But we'll have a great time at the Big Tree Inn no matter what. So,
well,
you guys will. That's a long drive to watch Mitch Trubisky.
Well, this was not the main part of the show today, as we kind of said. Obviously, not too much to talk about with quarterbacks. You have an MVP. Hopefully, that MVP could stay on the field the entire season. So let's get into the main kind of conversation that we were going to get into today, which was the linebackers. The linebacker group, which is definitely an interesting, I think, group this year. You're still bringing back your three main guys when it comes to your top three, and Dorian Williams, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard. Those are going to be your three guys. Obviously, Matt Milano, past few years, has kind of struggled to stay on the football field. 4 games last year, 5 games the year before that. Can he stay on the field this year? He did, void that last year of his contract, so this is his last year in Buffalo. He did, kind of put that out there of he's definitely open to coming back, but this is a huge year for him. So a lot of incentive for him to stay on the field this year and play well, because if he's going to want a contract going into free agency, it's going to be tough to get one if you're not being able to be on the football field for the third straight year. So, you got those three. Then you bring in Shaq Thompson, who's a vet, and he'll wear number 45. So if anybody's looking at videos, that's who he is, number 45. You still got Balin Spector. He's a big topic, which we'll talk about as well. Joe Andreessen's coming back, and then Eddie Olashofo, who was hurt for, I believe, most of the season last year, but then when he was playing, was kind of a deep bench guy / a little bit of special teams, if I'm not mistaken. And then you got Keontae Jenkins out of from Virginia Tech, I believe, right? UFA. And as Lance mentioned before the show, who knows with UDFAs? You had one last year in Joe Andreessen, and now it looks like Joe Andreessen is pretty much a lock to make this lineup this year, unless he really has a bad training camp. But he's already looked like he's had a pretty good OTAs, so it looks like he's going to be a lock. So let's talk about the starters first. I'll start with you, Lance. What kind of, when it comes to these top three guys, what are you expecting from them? Do you think Matt Milano could be on maybe a little bit of a snap count with the past 2 years with injuries? And what are you kind of expecting from these three guys with Dorian Williams, Matt Milano, and Terrell Bernard going into the season?
Yeah, I know this is not very seamless, but for those who are watching live, and sorry to those listening on audio later, but I do want to just play this clip here from Sal Capaccio at Sale Sports on X real quick of the linebacker room.
Yeah. Wait a minute, we got elbow breaks again? You got elbow breaks again? My fault.
Right on. One thing that I noticed from there is Derek Forrest is also practicing at some drills with the linebackers. So interesting during that particular drill that happened. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe. But Matt Milano coming out in this season, if he stays healthy, I think he can return to Pro Bowl caliber player. Led the linebacker NFL linebackers with 3 interceptions in 2022 when he played 512 coverage snaps, which was 16th in the league, and had a top 10 passer rating against with 68.8. So I think that obviously we all know he's had great success in this league, and unfortunate injuries, stated before, I really don't know. He really should have had that broken leg. It was a shame where he kind of just darted into a pile he really didn't need to go into in London there, and that London disaster against Jacksonville. So overall, I think that Milano returns to form this year. I think he has plenty of motivation to do so. I think he has the health to do so at this point. We showed last year that he could play a lot of snaps in a game as he ramped up for the playoff run and things like that. So I'm excited. I think with this group that we have here in the linebacker room, that Milano can really show out. I think he's, Bernard's the captain and kind of the leader of the defense, but Milano really has a great opportunity to be that one, sort of assistant, or I think he can really help Bernard lead on the field this year. And the biggest thing that we talk about with this defense is communication, I think, and that's something that we've kind of missed a little bit since Poyer and Hyde departed. So I think Milano helps in that respect as well. You saw a lot of clips. I see a lot of pictures and clips from camp where he's pointing and just making a lot of call outs. So I think he helps, and that's why he was on the thumbnail for the QBs of offense and defense of this team, is because it is a two-headed monster on defense, I think, with Bernard and Milano's going to play a big role in that and the success of this defense.
Yeah, when Milano's healthy, he and Fred Warner are the two best off-ball linebackers in football. It's just a fact. Like 2022, he was first team All-Pro. It was just even in 2023, before he got hurt, he was arguably playing better than he was in 2022. He had the interception in week 1. He absolutely ripped the ball away from Josh Jacobs in week 2, was playing awesome. If he was starting to get back to that towards the end of last season. Obviously, when you miss almost 2 seasons of football, you're going to have some rust, which he showed. But in that Ravens playoff game, made the awesome play on the 2-point conversion in the third quarter to bat the ball down to, I think it was Isaiah Likely, who was wide open, never got to him. In the Chiefs AFC Championship game, he got a huge sack on third down on their first drive of the second half. That kind of kept the Bills in the game at the time. So if the Chiefs score there and they go up 2 scores again, then you're just chasing 10 points the whole game. So he was starting to show that form he was getting back to. So yeah, I don't see any reason why he won't be impactful. When he's on the field, he's great. He's going to be in the right spot. He's going to know the defense probably better than anybody. And this will be the first time we've had Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, hopefully, knocking on wood, knocking on everything, playing a full season together. because in 2023, they only played 5 games. Last year, they played a handful and then the playoffs. So if they can both be healthy the whole season, that middle of the defense is maybe the best in the NFL as far as the linebacking room goes with the two of them. So I'm excited for it. Really hope they stay healthy. And I don't see why, if he's not healthy, he won't make an impact. Will he be first-team All-Pro Matt Milano? Probably not. But will he be a top 10, top 15 linebacker? Probably.
Yeah, and for Milano, it's not like his injuries were ones where they've been nagging for years, where it's like, they've been, that injury in London was just a freak incident, like you said, Lance, where it just happened to, he happened to just fracture his leg there. And last year in August, it was the bicep tear where, it's part of the position as well. So I think if he can stay healthy, if there's no freak injury, it's not like something like Bosa or anything where it's, been something that's kind of nagging and kind of might continue to come up. So, yeah, I think Milano can continue to be a terrific linebacker, especially him and Bernard. Those two are arguably the best duo when they're on the football field in the NFL. Obviously, you mentioned the 49ers there with Greenlaw and Fred Warner. That's another great duo, but those might be the top two.
Yeah, I think they broke that up this year for sure.
Yeah, but
it was though. Yeah.
It was those two were like the top 2 linebacking groups, and now they arguably, like I said, could be the top number 1 group this year when it comes to the linebacking duo. So, yeah, I'm excited to see Milano back out here. He does it all. He can do it in the run game. He can do it in the pass game. He's a great leader, and he's one of those guys who just puts his head down and works. And he's not gonna, he did something that actually is crazy that most players wouldn't do, which you're kind of seeing. I guess some players do it more and more, but. Like you said, he got rid of that last year of his contract. I saw John ask, will they re-sign Milano? That's a question that we won't know probably till mid-season because, again, even if he plays super well, are the Bills going to not have enough money to bring him back if he gets a big contract elsewhere? If he doesn't play well, will somebody else offer him more just because they want? So that's the loaded question for the future. But, yeah, I'm excited to see both of these guys. Dorian Williams, I think we kind of talked a little bit before the show about it, what his role will be this year. Now, if they do decide Milano, hey, we're going to just kind of put you on a little bit of a snap count, you could see a little bit more of Dorian Williams. In the past, as Scott mentioned before the show, they haven't really done that majorly. You'll see him maybe on rundowns. You'll maybe see him, here and there when it comes to making big plays. He's very good against the run. Against the pass, does leave some to be desired. So, for those 3, though, I'm pretty comfortable with those 3 when it comes to just those being the top 3 linebackers on this team. And they do kind of actually have a little bit of depth this year, which I think in years past has obviously been an issue when we've had to call AJ Klein from vacation and to come out and play in a playoff game. So we'll talk about those guys next, unless do you guys have anything left to say about the top 3 with Williams, Bernard, Milano?
All I'll add for Williams is I don't realistically know how much he'll play. You mentioned, obvious rundowns, which there aren't a ton of those in the NFL these days. So he maybe gets 5, 6, 7, 8 snaps a game? Because historically in this Bills defense, they don't rotate those 2 linebackers. We run a 4-2-5, and it was Edmonds and Milano, and they were on the field every snap. And then it was supposed to be TB and Milano, and they're on the field every snap. So I don't know how much Williams we'll see. Maybe that changes because if the plan is probably to not bring Milano back, maybe they want Williams to develop a little bit more. We were talking about how much do they like Williams, and I don't know how much they like him because last season he would have thought he would rotate in, and he didn't. Matt Milano came in from his very first game against the Niners and played every snap. There was no ramp up. There was no take only on passing downs. He played every snap. So that tells me that he coming into this season being in theory 100%, having a full off season of workload and the end of last season to play. So you think he kind of busted the rust a bit. I think it's going to be Milano and TB out there and 95% of the snaps when it's not garbage time. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I think they like Williams, but just historically with McDermott defenses, those linebackers don't come off the field.
Yeah, it's going to be package based. Also going to be Williams is going to be dependent upon Teron Johnson a little bit too. Does he stay healthy all year, right? So it's okay, well, if you don't really have Teron Johnson to rely on, yeah, you can try to plug in, a Cam Lewis or these other guys, but you're going to be more willing to put a third linebacker on the field because now you're not taking – Teron Johnson's already off the field, so you're playing Dorian Williams over Cam Lewis or Hancock or whomever it may be who would come in for Johnson. that's a little
Last
bit
year, I
easier
think
to
they stayed
swallow. You know,
the same amount of snaps. Like it was Cam Lewis, just do it.
they did, yeah,
They
they
did like
for the most part. We'll see, but again, you know, with Milano having the potential, you know, to need to re-sign to be here next year and that sort of thing. You know, I guess we didn't necessarily answer the question. We can maybe answer it later, is whether or not we think he'll return, but for Milano. But I think Dorian Williams he's going to get the work when the opportunities are there. You know, they'll figure out some sort of packages, or they'll have some sort of load management due to sports science and things like that, and they'll figure out, look, they're going to win some games pretty handily. So I think like it's just going to be smart during those times to really get these guys some of those snaps, and that's really where you'll see a lot of Dorian Williams, I think.
Yeah, and the good news is, like we mentioned, there's a little bit more depth this year, and Dorian Williams is part of that depth when it comes to if somebody goes down, you've been able to see him play in quality and important snaps during the season. And so let's go right into that there then. Besides Dorian Williams, who we all consider a lock, I'd be very shocked if he gets cut somehow. But there's some other guys that, are they going to go to practice squad? Are they going to be on the team? We'll start first with Shaq Thompson, who's a vet signing. Got Balin Spector, who's struggled to stay healthy, and even when he's done on the football field, struggled to make tackles at least. You know, he's been able to just wrapping up. Joe 𝐸𝐿𝐸𝐸, who coming now into his second year, really showed out and looked like he had another great OTA. So is he a guy that maybe even they have there that if somebody goes down, they decide to go with 𝐸𝐸𝐸 instead, because he can also make some plays. Eddie Olafosho, who we also mentioned, now going into his second year. And then Keontae Jenkins, is there any shot? We'll start with you, Scott. Out of those 5 guys there, who do you kind of expect to make the roster? What do you expect when it comes to how many they keep? Do they keep 6? Do they keep 5? Like, what do you think?
I'm kind of leaning towards them keeping 6, which seems crazy for a team that plays 2 linebackers. But I'm pretty sure they kept 6 last season, at least off the rip. So I think Balin Spector is getting cut. I think this is the end of the road for him here in Buffalo. I don't think he'll go to the practice squad. I think someone else will sign him because he is good enough to be on an NFL roster. I just don't think it's this one. He's always hurt, and then when he is on the field, he'll show some flashes, but like he just doesn't really seem to have it. I think he's going to get cut, and with bringing in Shaq Thompson, who in theory would be like his roster replacement, he's on a 1-year deal, and Spector has 1 year left. So it's not like he's a draft pick. They have multiple years left with him on a cheap contract. Like if you're going to have him at, money, all things being equal money-wise, basically, I think you go with Shaq Thompson over Balin Spector just because he is a vet. Not that they're not comfortable with Spector. He's been here for 3 years, but McDermott and Bean know him really well. He has big-time experience. And the question with him, can he stay healthy? But if he's just a depth guy and he's not playing as much, less chance to get injured. So hopefully he can stay healthy. And who knows if he plays? He might even be inactive, like a break glass in case of emergency. But I do think he makes the team. I think Olafosho makes the team because he made the team last year and they drafted him. And I don't think they give up on a draft pick so soon, who hasn't really seemed to give us any reason to think they shouldn't keep him on the team. He does play well on special teams, and he's another one of those guys. Hopefully he doesn't have to see the field. And yeah, 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, I think he makes the team. I think he's the backup there to Terrell Bernard or Matt Milano, whichever side they decide to put him on. I don't think he gets meaningful snaps, but I think his role is a bit increased this season just with where he is on the depth chart. So I think they keep those 6. And I think Spector, and then our UDFA friend, Keontae Jenkins, he'll be able to tell everybody for the rest of his life he went to a training camp. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Comment here from Witty Not Funny Sports Podcast, also found on the Built in Buffalo Podcast Network, about Eddie Olafosho. There's definitely a spot for him. Look, he's going to be good on special teams, like Scott mentioned. Is there a spot for him to play defense? Not right away. Hopefully not. Can he do it? Sure. But I think that, he does need development, and they're going to continue to do that through this season. And Olafosho's development is going to probably, I think he would probably play more similar spot to Milano than Williams would, right? Because Williams is going to play the opposite side of the ball than Milano. And I just think that Olafosho's development could be key into whether or not the Bills will resign Milano, which, again, I kind of lean towards if Milano comes back and plays well, I think they'd want him here. But it's a numbers game at that point. We'll see what they want to do with their roster structure when that time comes. But I'm having a hard time with this Balin Spector versus Shaq Thompson discussion because Thompson has to come in and show that he's healthy. First of all, there's some injury history there with Thompson that he's got to overcome and kind of show us that he's at a certain level. If he is at that level and he can do the things he needs to do, then sure, I can understand having him over Spector. But Spector's been in this version of the defense here in Buffalo longer than Shaq Thompson was in his version of the defense in Carolina. So like it is a little bit of that's the big competition. That's what we're really going to see. I don't have a great feel for that yet because I would like to see Shaq Thompson on the field and see him actually, his actual health, what he looks like, how he moves, and to make sure he's not like, is he just really here to coach these guys up this year and then get cut at the cut down day. So Balin Spector's at least young enough, although he does have injury history and just always misses games, but we don't really need him to play anything other than special teams right now. So hopefully that he's not going to be called on to play a ton of defensive snaps. And
he's hurt already.
Yeah. So if he can't go at camp, but everyone's going to be there at camp full, so if they did miss a little bit of summer time work, that is what it is. But if you're missing camp time and you're missing preseason time, then that's going to be another factor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first Andreessen and Olafosho, they're locks to me. I mean, Olafosho also is just a guy who I think if you put him on special teams, can really just lay some wood there and get some big hits there. So there's a guy that you're going to want on the team. A younger guy, like you said, you have him under contract. Doesn't make sense to really put him on practice squad at all because if somebody does go down, and that's why I do also lean, like you said, I'm leaning same with Scott. I think same with you, Lance, that they're going to keep 6 just because, again, this is also this is a position where injuries happen. They just do. When it comes to Bernard, when it comes to Milano, we've seen it in the past where they just happen and they sometimes are just freak incidents. So it's a physical position. It's a position where you're flying a lot. You're flying around the field and you're making big hits. So I think you keep 6 because, again, you don't want to put Andreessen or Olafosho on practice squad and risk losing either of them. It just wouldn't make sense there for the Bills.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so Keontae Jenkins, I don't know too much about him, but it's going to be tough for him to make a roster run here. I think with Andreessen, it was a little bit different last year because of the lack of depth they had at that position. It's just made it easier to come in and make this roster. And when you show out, it's very rare to see a UDFA show out the way he did last year when it comes to camp and in practices. So Keontae Jenkins, as much as, it'd be a great story. If he shows out, that's awesome. If they end up keeping him over a guy like Shaq Thompson, cool. It'll be a great story. It's just going to be tough for a guy like him. I do think Shaq Thompson will get the nod just because, again, when you're looking at depth and you're especially looking when it comes to like a guy like Balin Spector who's had some injuries and his injury history is one of those injuries where they are a little bit of nagging injuries. They aren't freak incidents as much. They are injuries where they've happened in camp. They've happened in practice. He's not in the game going full speed and breaks his leg like these are injuries that can linger, and you've already seen it a little bit even already, where can he stay healthy? Where, Shaq Thompson's missed some time, but he has the experience. He's been able to play full football. He's been through the grind of multiple seasons. So I think they'll opt to keep Shaq Thompson, unless Shaq Thompson comes in and is just all over the place making play after play that's the wrong play. I think you'll end up seeing him on the football, or at least on the sideline, either it's inactive or in his pads, just as a bench warmer there. Just because it's also good to have a guy that's like that, where he's a little bit of a vet in their room. And I know you have Milano, who's a vet. Bernard, I guess, is a vet, but he's also a younger vet at this point. You just to bring in another experienced vet who's been able to play the system, who's played great football in this league before, I think is valuable for guys especially when you have other guys like Andreessen and Dorian Williams and Olafosho and even Terrell Bernard, who are relatively young for the position. I just think it's great to have that experience. So I do think they go Thompson over Spector, just with Spector but not being able to stay healthy and just his struggling when it comes to tackling. I know he's had certain plays when it comes to in the pass game, but a lot of those plays, I mean, I just looked at, he's played in one game last year where it was even a close game. And the rest of the time, it's been garbage time. It's been time where you don't really see the starters in there. So, yeah, I think they'll opt to keep Shaq Thompson. And, you know, either way, I don't think Thompson or Spector, whichever one makes it over the other, will see the field very much unless somehow every linebacker on the squad goes down. I don't think you'd see either of them at all. So,
yeah, the one argument is like Thompson's not going to play special teams and Spector would. So I don't know. Or would be more able to, I think, then. So you do have a lot of linebackers on your special teams team, you know, units, and I think that that it's going to be interesting. Like I said, if Thompson can move and can do the thing, like it all goes back to Scott's got like the quote of the summer so far, really, with like you got these guys that aren't going to be in the wrong spots. They're going to be, because their veteran status, their IQ and all this stuff, like know where they're going to show up. You know, they're at least, even if they don't have top end talent to make every play, like they can at least be in the right position because they understand where they need to be on every play, and in each situation. Having that experience helps that a ton, and just it's sort of invaluable. And I think that's sort of our theme when we talk about, you know, roster spots this off season, is really like, all right, well, what are they going to choose? Like, they're going to choose some guys that can really do it on special teams because their starters are sort of locked in, and your backup roles are going to need to really help out in those areas. And then B, it's like, okay, if we do have to call on you, how much can we trust you to be in the right spot, you know, and give yourself the chance to make the play, at least, even if you're not really making it every time, at least give yourself that chance.
Well, I will say, I mean, for all we know, both of these guys could get cut. That, like, at the end of the day, like, they could opt to keep 5 and put one of them on the practice squad. Like, that could realistically happen, because how big of a market will Shaq Thompson have? How big of a market will Balin Spector have? And even, I know I'm going to bring this comment up. Yeah, Lance already had me. We were with Hoyt. You know, he could come back, and I know he's more of a rush linebacker, but
He's a D end.
Yeah, but he's listed. But yeah, because he was on the Rams,
he's a D end
linebacker, because the Rams play a 3-4 compared to a 4-3. But yeah, when he comes back, this is not more so much to the point of him being a linebacker. It's more to the point of they have 6 weeks. They could keep one of them or even both of them, and have 6 weeks to figure out which one they want to keep. Like, that realistically could happen as well. And then once Hoyt and once 𝐬𝐿 come back, then they could opt to even cut one of them. So yeah, Hoyt will be a rush edge. He won't be an off-ball linebacker. Well, I know we have seen clips of him guarding DK Metcalf. That was a one-time thing I think we saw. And him coming over from the Rams, he was listed as a linebacker, but the Rams, like I said, play a 3-4.
So was Von Miller.
Yeah, when you play a 3-4, those edge rushers are listed as linebackers. You know, Jared Verse is technically a linebacker, but he's an edge rusher. So
they dropped Von Miller back into coverage at times from the DN spot. I think they're going to be able to do. They're going to be able to do that with Hoyt a little bit too. That
DNs will always like drop like every once in a while. But,
I just think he gives them a better option there. You know, Hoyt is a decent option to do that and have that role when you're going to drop a D end into coverage. He seems to have had at least moderate success in this league doing that in his time with the Rams.
I mean, you've seen him drop Jordan Phillips in the coverage one time in the zone. Like, you've seen Jordan Phillips.
Dude, I don't put anything past these guys. They played.
Michael Pierce got an interception last season, dropping back into coverage. He's the heaviest in the league. Like, they'll do it once like a season.
And yeah, I do agree though with you, Lance, that Hoyt will give you he'll give you better rep when it comes to that than most edge rushers. But when you're signing him, you're not thinking he'll do that more than 10 times in a season at the most.
You'll do it when you bring in some kind of an exotic blitz on like the other side, and like someone is supposed to be in that spot, so you'll drop the weak side D end. Like, it's not something that he's going to do consistently.
These dudes played Quentin Jefferson at defensive end last year at times, and I just think mind blowing. So yeah, you never know what they're going to throw out there on the defense. So yeah, Hoyt could certainly see a few snaps here or there in different roles, but it's not going to be a traditional linebacker role by any means. Like Scott mentioned, it's going to be defensive end.
they play the, sorry to cut you off the lens. They do play that also 4-2-5, like we talked. That's majority of it is even when they do drop a third guy into coverage that's not a DB, it's either a blitz or it's some exotic coverage that they're playing to mess with, to try to throw the team off there. So yeah, majority of the time, Hoyt will be rushing the passer for probably 98% of his snaps this season. You might see again like 5 to 10 times they drop him back. And yeah, he's definitely better than dropping Jordan Phillips or Von Miller back into coverage from years past. But yeah, I mean, I guess it could play a factor when it comes to if they do try to decide to keep 6 linebackers for the first 6 weeks, and then once both the suspended guys come back, then they opt to go from there to see, oh well, Spector's playing really good special teams, we're going to keep him, or Shaq Thompson's struggling, so now we're going to cut him and go elsewhere. So that could play a factor in that type of aspect, and we'll see how they play it. But yeah,
I think that excites me more than anything. Like a lot of people talk about Milano and Bernard in coverage, but that ability to blitz, those two guys specifically are very good at it. So the ability to blitz one of the two or both at times and maybe drop a guy like Hoyt back when he comes back or whomever else they choose. That's really the exciting part of this defense this year. And the reason why the health of those two guys is really going to be paramount to what the Bills can accomplish on the defensive side, because like they just are so versatile. And if they want to bring them, they're super good at getting after the quarterback and blitzing. If they want to drop them, they're super good in coverage. And then obviously reading and reacting to the run game as well. They've done more than an adequate job at that throughout their careers. So certainly having those two healthy in the middle of this defense is going to be very important.
Well,
Milano's very slippery.
That kind of brings us into the last, I guess, topic or conversation we have here, which I'm going to have you go first, Lance, because you kind of already started answering it here. Since you're going first, you can pick whatever scale you'd like for it. But we did this with every other group. And quarterback, I think we're all going to be at a 10 when it comes to confidence, just because maybe a 9.99 for that one-off chance.
We didn't even give our confidence level in the QB room. Are we doing both?
You can do both. Yeah, let's do both where you're at. I mean, I think quarterback will be pretty good when it comes to just what we all think. But what is your confidence level with this linebacker group? More importantly, what is it for the linebacking group?
Yeah, on the Shoop scale of confidence in the quarterback room, I'm a Shania Twain, and then in the linebacker room, I'd say I'll give it.
Are you saying that she is like a woman?
Yes. Very good, Scott. So in the linebacker room, I think it really depends on the health of those two. Like I said, given them being healthy, I would be 9 out of 10 confidence level in our linebacking core.
What about when you count into the risk of injury? Where does that bring it down 1 point? Does it bring it down how much?
8.9.
8.9. So you think they can stay relatively healthy? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, quarterback room. As long as Josh Allen is on the field, it's a 10 out of 10.
I give it a 10. 10.
Exactly. And then linebacking core, yeah, like Lance, you said, if I combined their names and said Menard, I think that's a grocery store chain. If Bernard and Milano are healthy, then yeah, I'm about as confident in the sack group as I am in any group on the team. Probably in the 8 or 9 range. But if one of those guys gets hurt, it drops down a bit. And I don't really necessarily even know if it matters which one gets hurt, because Dorian Williams can fill in, maybe Andreessen can fill in. Like we've seen the defense without one or both of those at time, one or both of them at times, and it's looked okay. Obviously, there's games like that Ravens game when they're both out when they got gashed. But as long as they're healthy, I feel very confident in the group. And if one of them goes down, I would say I'm still pretty confident. Like put it around a 7 or an 8. If they both go down, then man. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Ravens game was also Teron Johnson being out too, right? So
yeah, it was like the whole
second level was gone basically.
I will say
Dorian Williams, Nick Morrow, and Cam Lewis. And
I would be slightly more inclined to be a little bit more confident. Surprisingly enough, if Bernard went down just for slightly, ever so slightly, I'd still be worried either way. Just because you haven't really seen 𝐸'Z'Hn in a full game. Even against Baltimore, he only played 19% of the snaps, which was 14 snaps. Like, it wasn't him out there in replacement. And he's a guy who has, at least during his time in preseason and so far in camps and in the OTAs, has been a guy who's made plays. So I guess it'd be slightly a little bit better when
I'd see 𝐬𝐻 in that situation if we needed to.
Yeah, so when you have Milano, at least you know kind of what you're going to get with Dorian Williams. 𝐬𝐻 is a guy who's kind of another young, exciting guy, and even with a guy like Shaq Thompson, you kind of, again, you've seen him play, and yes, he's a little bit older, but he's got the experience. I might be a little bit more inclined to be. I don't know. Either way, I'd be a little bit definitely worried, but I think I'm probably more at that 8.5, just because it's like, I know Milano's injuries aren't nagging ones, and they're not ones that you definitely need to be concerned about going forward. But just the style of football he plays can he stay on the football field because of how he plays? So that's
something keeps happening, right? So it's not necessarily the same thing over and over, but it's something keeps happening.
Yeah, so that brings my confidence a little bit down, just because it's like, can he stay on the field? But if he's on the field, like you guys said, like, confidence through this could be the best linebacker doing in the league. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they lead this defense to being a top 3 defense solely on their backs if they can stay healthy, because they are just amazing football players in both run and pass game. So, yeah, either way.
I'll say it together. Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard is the best linebacking duo in the league.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. Oh, what?
Oh.
Yeah. Regardless, yeah. Well, maybe we have to do something. I don't know if Bills Mafia has to do something before the season to break a curse of Matt Milano getting injured the past 2 seasons.
To the pit.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the pit anymore, I guess. I mean,
you just got nowhere to look.
Yeah. Well, it's just a little harder to kind of get into the pit because you got to go through everything now. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Bills Mafia got to do something. I don't know what it is, but they got to do something to keep him healthy. But yeah, if they're both healthy, this could easily be the best linebacking duo in the league. And I think a lot of people know that around the league, because it's just how when either of them on the field, just what both of them do to this defense, and how they haven't lost. Like, you didn't lose a step when you lost Terrell Edmonds Tremaine Edmonds. Not his brother, Tremaine Edmonds, because Terrell Bernard came in, filled nicely, and Matt Milano's been Matt Milano when he is on the field. He's been an all-pro level player. So I think everybody knows if these guys are healthy, they are a hell of a duo, and that's just hoping that both of them can stay healthy. But I do believe that is all we got for you guys today. So we're just a little bit less than an hour today. Obviously, quarterbacks didn't have too much to talk about, which no shock to anybody. You got Josh Allen back there. Hopefully we don't have to worry about it the rest of the season, and we get to see Josh Allen sling it for the entire season. And the linebacker group, yeah, it's definitely, I think, a lot more confident than past years for a lot of people, just due to the depth and due to the excitement around some of these guys if somebody does go down, like 𝐸𝐻 and 𝐸'Z'Hn and whoever. So, yeah, it's definitely a little bit more confident, and we'll see how they end up going. But you guys got any last words on quarterback, linebackers, either one?
No, just thanks again to our sponsors, Monster Energy Drink, the official energy partner of Built-In Buffalo and Buffalogo. Shout out to the Big Tree. I parked over there for the concert at the stadium the other day and got some wings with the wife and chicken tendies. So that was always good. So Big Tree Inn, go visit them. Their wing nights on Thursday nights. So go visit. The Murph sauce there was incredible. So other than that, thank you all for watching. Please like it, share it with your friends. Audio podcast will drop tomorrow morning wherever you get your podcasts. Any last words from you, Scott?
I was say no show next week. Taking a little summer vacay. If you want to watch, some reruns, just Google, YouTube us. You can watch some of the greatest hits, the Triple Coverage podcast. But it looks like Tyrese Halliburton is playing tonight. So maybe that gives the Pacers a chance. I don't know how healthy he is, but at least he's out there to be a decoy if he's not 100%. But let's hope we get a Game 7. I'm not ready to give up.
Where are you putting your money on?
Thunder.
And I will say last thing for me is since we are not here next week and there won't be a show, do check out the rest of the other shows on Built Buffalo. Even one like we had Witty in here, Witty Not Funny Sports Podcast. Go check them out since we're not going to be here next week. If you have if you haven't, either way, even when we do have a show, you should check it out. But even more so, since we're not going to have a show, definitely go check it out in our place. If you only watch one of ours a week, go watch Woody this week or whoever else. But
yeah, check out T. She's got a great Not Your Average podcast in the 716 on Thursday afternoons, little matinee show there at 2:00. So check T out. She's one of the greatest, podcasters in the game right now. She's really good for us and greatly appreciate what she does and the insight she brings. She had a good guest on today from the Dolphins beat or Dolphins podcasting world. So always cool to check her out as well. With that said, guys, we'll check you in a couple weeks here and get everyone caught up on all the latest nothing from the off season, and it'll be 3 or so weeks until we get to training camp. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Will.